Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Chocolate Saiyan, Brian's Logic, Flatsoid, Neil, Sleeping Warrior, Adam Meakin, and a whole bunch of people on Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, hello.
Hey everyone.
Afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon, good morning. Hello, hello.
Good day.
Hello.
Bring me along on this very flat earth.
I didn't understand that for the South African. Try that again. Or don't. I don't mind either way. We're going to do a few plugs. So before
Bring
we
me
go,
along. Welcome to a very...
you're doing phone jacker.
Mandela effect, that does.
It sounds like phone jacker, but with a South African accent. Hey, Owen. Right, before we get into lots of nonsense, I want to do some plugs. So, over the last week, I've been doing a few plugs for a few channels that I watch, in the hope that people will go and subscribe to them. So, in the live stream chat, the first link is to Authentic Intent. So, check him out. He does a lot of live streams out on location on current event topics. He also covers Flat Earth. He talks about those subjects with the public in a very, very approachable and nice way. So check out Authentic Intent channel. His is the first link in the live stream video. I'll also link these in any subsequent uploads. Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show, etc., etc. So you'll get links in the info box and in the comment section, and for the time being, the first link is to Authentic Intent. So go immediately, subscribe today to his channel. It is absolutely fantastic. Anyone want to add anything on Authentic Intent before I move on to the next person to plug?
Definitely worth it to watch.
Is that it?
He's ace. He's what I like about him. He's got a very type of sense of humor to him with his videos.
Yeah,
like a kind of carefree kind of guy.
He's a good guy. So let's move on. We've also got one of the ball busters, which is Bible Literalist. So check out Bible Literalist channel. You don't have to be a Christian to check out Paula's channel. She's a historian. I'd like to think of her as a historian. She's very, very well researched. Also, again, obviously a flat earther, and discusses it in her subjects when she's doing her videos. So another link to actually go and subscribe to today. Again, I'll put this in the info box below the video in the comments, and it's currently in the live stream as the second link down. So go and check out Bible Literalist channel today and subscribe. Please let these people know that I've sent you. So just leave a little comment saying Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Subscribed as your comment when you subscribe. Don't just put subbed. Don't just subscribe. Just let them know that you're being sent to intentionally subscribe to these people. So that's Bible Literalist channel. Definitely well deserving of more than 1,000+ subscribers, as is Flatsoid FE. Woohoo! So Flatsoid's one of our panel members. He's here pretty much daily, unless he's got something wrong with his thumb or he's inhaled a load of toxic nonsense. But nevertheless, he's currently in a back and forth with Fight the Flat Earth in regards to a debate that's been ongoing that they had on his show, on Fight the Flat Earth show. So check it out today. I think it's probably mirrored on Flatsoid's channel also. And he is the third link in today's live stream. So members only, if you can see that. You can still see the live stream if you're not a member, but you can click on the link and go and subscribe immediately in either event. So go and check out Flatsoid. Obviously deserving of more than 528 subscribers. So again, leave him a little comment, just say Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, because he's not going to know. He's not obviously on the panel right now, so how could he possibly know that he's going to have subscribers coming from this channel to his, unless you told him. So I'll just run through all those again. So we've got Authentic Intent, top link in the live stream chat, followed by Bible Literalist and Flatsoid FE. So go and subscribe to all of those channels. Obviously come back if you're watching live. But yeah, check them out, subscribe, and leave them a comment letting them know that I sent you. That would be really, really appreciated. So on with today's housekeeping. Unless there's anything anyone wants to add on Bible literalists, authentic intent, or Flatsoid.
I got something to add on Flatsoid. Spider bites, do not keep him away from the show.
Well, in joke, Flatsoid was afflicted by a spider bite. And swelled to the size of a melon. It wasn't a pleasant sight when I saw the photo. It's not something you can unsee. Should we get on with housekeeping?
I was going to say, since that bite, his content on the web has gotten better.
Boom, boom!
The web, good one.
I'd just quickly give Paula a shout out, Bible literalist. I really enjoy her channel. It's something to refer. You don't see a lot of good quality, and you see lots of alternative views of biblical stuff, but it's good to have that solid reference point that I find quite refreshing to go back and listen to a lot of her stuff, especially on a Sunday. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, big shout out to Paula. I do like her stuff, and as Nathan said to me, excellently researched. It's all
seconded.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
Very thorough.
I sit and watch with the family in the confidence that I don't need to ever interject with what Paula's saying and say, well, actually, that might not be true, because there's nothing that she covers that isn't impeccably researched. So literally on a Sunday, probably same as you, Adam, I don't often chat in the comments. I just leave it running while normally we're cooking dinner and stuff. But the whole family sit around and watch Paula's show.
I'm generally quiet in chat if I'm listening. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and if you, I can't really concentrate if I'm typing. So when I'm listening, and you have to really engage with what she's saying. So.
Right. I like to get in her chat too sometimes if I pick up that she's live. Because, I don't know, she's very inspiring and insightful. She knows so much. It's creepy almost. But it's good.
I just can't believe she's got such a little subscribers. I thought she'd have a lot more by now.
She should, and that's exactly why I'm doing this. Same goes for Authentic Intent. So Authentic Intent, I do participate in his live stream because he's a bit like Arwin in the respect that he's very interactive, but he's out in the field interactive, as in face-to-face with people. Although he doesn't necessarily put their faces on camera, he just sets up his camera, starts his live stream, chats to the chat, and then as people float on by, he'll just talk to them about whatever. Often flat Earth, often current events, but he's a very approachable guy. So yeah, all of these characters, you couldn't get any more different between Authentic Intent and Flatsoid. They're polar ends of the spectrum in terms of what they do. But yeah, on the same exact subject, right? They're both covering the same stuff. But yeah, you couldn't recommend three more different people in terms of Flatsoid, Josh, and Paula. You couldn't get any more different. Anyway,
Yeah,
let's do some.
all three of them great.
Say again?
Subscribe today.
Subscribe today, indeed, and let them know I sent you. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent us. Let's do some housekeeping 8 minutes into the live show. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? Horizon, formerly known as Earth curve.
Nothing El Segundo.
Horizon's an optical phenomena. There's no geometric edge. You couldn't ascertain or believe that there ever was one unless you could demonstrate it. And at no point would you ever know that there was one because it's always optical.
Sorry. So are they stating that this angular resolution limit would be this actual curve?
The angular resolution limit thing is quite... I like although it was mine, it just came up naturally with the hair. I can't remember who it was we were talking to at the time, but it's like, why doesn't a hair disappear at 8 inches per mile, or per mile squared?
That was Chaiki.
Chaiki, right. So it's like, okay, so you say something will disappear at 8 inches at a mile. Well, okay. If that's the case, a hair will only disappear at 8 miles. A mile, rather. An 8-inch hair. Get it right in the end. Well, if that's the case, why would it disappear sooner? And according to their maths, it wouldn't disappear sooner. It would disappear behind Earth curve when it got too small to see. But in the case of a hair, you're not only limited by the deck. It's narrow as well. So its angular resolution limit's affected far sooner than a brick that's quite wide, that's only going to be limited by the angle against the deck being the most limited angle, causing the diffraction limit to arrive sooner. Well, hair, it could disappear at 6 feet. That ain't a mile. Not accounted for on Earth curve maths, that hair's only going to be disappearing when it gets to the horizon they reify as a physical sphere edge obstruction. Then they'll calculate mathematically with it being an 8-inch hair at 1,000,000 miles. Doesn't matter how far or near you are to the 8-inch hair, it's always 8 inches in their maths. Doesn't have any angular size. Shout out to Mario Knows It's Flat. Says shout out to Wakey Wakey. He's moving over to Library TV. Yeah, I did see his update. He's had a couple of community guideline strikes for videos on his coverage of current affairs. Current affairs is being used as code now, it seems. Anyway, current affairs. Yeah, he's covering current affairs, and that's not loud. So yeah. Shout out to Wakey Wakey. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No, if there was axial rotation, Nathan, planes would get faster when they fly west, and they would get slower in time when they fly east. But we don't see that yet. We're expected to believe that a Foucault's pendulum proves that the Earth turns underneath it whilst it's spinning. It's complete nonsense.
Sorry, we were actually, me and Solar were in a debate until like 11, almost 11 last night with Zanik on this exact topic. He was trying to say his hypothesis is scientific with Earth spin. It was the most hilarious thing. I couldn't.
People have no idea what science is. Can you turn your line up a little bit, Anthony? I can't take individual control of you in the Hangout, but if you can turn your output line up a bit, that'd be very handy.
Wouldn't axial rotation involve the 15-degree deviation?
Yeah, 15 degrees drift. That's things moving apart at 15 degrees an hour as Earth rotates underneath. So that would involve Earth rotating underneath.
Would that mean you need more than one reference frame?
Yeah, 2. One rotating underneath the other.
So cause and effect, why don't we see 15-degree drift?
Because you and your reference frames have been ruined. There are no separate reference frames. There is no Earth turning underneath. We don't observe Coriolis deflection. Nothing flies away from us at 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. That would be 15 degrees.
That's
So when we're
sloppy way.
So when we're talking to a baller and we say, okay, if you say Earth is spinning at the different rates, at the different latitudes, then anything unattached to the Earth will seem to deviate and drift. So let's throw this ball up in the air and see how much it drifts away from us because we're turning underneath it, and it comes right back down in the palm of your hands. So much for your Earth spinning, right?
Right.
Have you ever seen those videos of those guys firing bullets up in the desert? They fire a couple of bullets up with some kind of assault rifle. They get it as straight up as they can get it, and they go ping, 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 fire 3 bullets up, and then about 2 minutes later, you can hear them come back down and land. In the time that the Earth should have moved it like in that distance, if it was really traveling the way that they, or if the Earth was really turning the way they say, then bullets would never come back anywhere near them because the Earth would have rotated over the distance that they require in that time, such a distance, and you'd never get the bullets back. But they'd pretty much fall back to where they were fired from.
Yeah, I think the one bullet was like 20 meters from him or something, and that's because of the wind. And that was because of the wind or something.
I saw that. Be ready to laugh. There are a couple of characters that are hiding under the car and the table and everything.
Yeah, at that point, normally in the discussion, we have a globe Earth tell us the justification for why the bullet doesn't drift when they claim Earth turns underneath. Now, at the moment, they don't seem to like us pointing out that their claim of Coriolis drift, they'd much prefer it was just left called that, Coriolis drift, or 15 degrees an hour deviation. Us calling it what it really is, the claim that Earth turns underneath stuff attached and then detached from the spinning reference frame, that would be to observe Coriolis deflection. Now, they don't like us detailing it in that way. What, Earth turning underneath things not attached? Apparently that's a sloppy description. Other than it being precisely what's required for Coriolis effect to actually happen. They don't like it because it's overtly stating that we should be turning underneath stuff and we're not.
Agreed.
Well, what they also will do is say, like a cum virus, is they'll say conservation of momentum. The problem is that it's possible that explanation could work if the Earth was moving linearly in a straight line. Well, it's not, according to their model. It's moving angularly in a circular path. And I don't, claim to understand all the physics behind it. If you have just a basic understanding of those momentums, if you're on a moving platform and you throw a ball straight up, the ball will tend to come back down into your hand where it left. However, if you do that same thing on a spinning platform, it won't come back down into your hand. You can do this a couple of ways. If you're on a merry-go-round and you're sitting on the edge with your feet dangling off the side, you can throw a ball either straight out and it won't continue to spin around with you, or you can throw a ball straight up and it also won't continue to spin with you. So the whole argument of conservation of momentum on a spinning ball based on just basic physics is out the window immediately.
And that explanation would be a justification for having no 15 degrees an hour drift. If it's conserving momentum as they claim, then it's not Coriolis, because Coriolis is only ever observed by you on a spinning platform, and it's an observation of stuff that's not spinning with you. So your observation of it, in your example with a ball thrown off a merry-go-round, it would be your observation of it seeming to curve away from you as you spin away from it. But for that effect to happen, Coriolis deflection, what they claim proves Earth spinning, 15 degrees of drift as Earth turns underneath stuff not attached, like your ball isn't attached to the merry-go-round. Well, to have Coriolis, you've got to be observing stuff seem to drift. So as soon as you detail what's happening with the ball conserving momentum, nothing to do with Coriolis deflection, because that's you observing it seem to drift. So I don't care from now on when they start justifying how it doesn't drift and why it doesn't drift, because they need it to drift. They need Earth to turn underneath it, and it doesn't.
Hold on a second. If I'm on one of them moving, like in the airport, one of them moving sidewalks, and I throw a ball straight up in the air, it's going to come back down in my hand? I don't think so.
No, but they claim Earth wouldn't have the same effect. So they claim that you throw a ball up in the air, and because it's left a non-inertial spinning reference frame, you'd see it drift. Like a football in Neil deGrasse Tyson's example, that was claimed to drift because it's claimed Earth was turning underneath it. So they claim Earth turns underneath footballs. We also get told here in the debate that snipers have to concern themselves because Earth's turning underneath their bullets. Well, that is backed by Foucault's claim that Earth is turning underneath a pendulum. Pendulum swings back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's claimed to seem to drift and knock dominoes over because it's claimed Earth turns underneath. So they very much, on the globe side, claim Earth turns underneath stuff not attached at 15 degrees an hour. But that means Earth's turning underneath stuff not attached at 15 degrees an hour. And that would shorten flight times. That would mean a ball would fly away from you 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. It would mean that a drone that's hovering would appear to drift away from you at 1,000 miles an hour. And that doesn't happen.
But when they say conservation of momentum, they could never have experienced Coriolis in the first place.
Precisely. Quick shout out to Guns of Navarone, our MP, who's joined as a penguin and then immediately upgraded to a hyena. So thank you very much indeed for joining as a channel member.
Well, then I think we got to start pushing it that it's an optical effect.
Yeah, it is an optical effect.
That's literally what it's defined as.
I know,
and
but they
even
don't seem.
as an illusion, according to their own narrative.
Well, it is an optical illusion.
It is
but
an
it
optical
doesn't
illusion.
really curve.
Yeah, the optical illusion is that if you're on a roundabout and the roundabout has got, say, some trees hanging over the top of it, you know, kids' playground, tree growing over the top of a roundabout, seems reasonable, right? You come back after the lockdown and all the trees have overgrown and they're hanging over the top of the roundabout. Now you get on the roundabout on the other side where it's not covered by trees and you start spinning. And what you see is, oh no, the tree is coming towards me. Now trees don't get up out of the ground and come towards you, do they? But it looks like it when you're spinning towards it. It looks like the tree's coming towards you. That's Coriolis effect. It looking like a tree's coming towards you. Really, you're spinning towards it. And that's what's claimed to happen on Earth. So stuff that's not attached would seem to drift away or seem to drift towards you as you spin towards it, rotating underneath it. That's what Coriolis is. Now, as soon as we get into the nitty-gritty of us declaring what they're supposed to be claiming, that's Earth turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour, they go, no, 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 no. That's a sloppy description. It's not a sloppy description, it's just Coriolis effect, and it's claimed to happen on Earth, it just doesn't.
Their claim of the conservation of angular momentum wouldn't work even if it was linear momentum, because gas will not attach itself to a moving object.
Correct, but it wouldn't give you drift either.
I tell you what's an interesting concept. Not saying this is true, but you know when you're describing something that looks like it's coming towards you, then moving away from you, coming towards you, then moving away from you. Imagine, you know, like when they talk about Mercury and Venus in retrograde, they have apparent retrograde motion. Well, if you were on a rotating something or orbiting something or whatever, you would see all the planets appear to do retrograde motion, but you don't see all the planets do it. You only see those two. But you could interpret apparent retrograde motion as Coriolis force or effect. Not saying it is, but that would be the phenomena that you would have to see relative to other things in the environment that we live in, but we don't see it.
Not exactly. What you're describing is two different orbital motions described in their model that would give you a waltzer-like effect, right, with two different rotational motions happening at once, and that would manifest in this retrograde motion that you only see over a course of days, you appreciate. It's not like you're watching this thing whirl around in the sky. But ultimately speaking, you achieve Coriolis effect with their claim and the sun. So us turning under the sun causes the sun to appear to move when it's in reality us turning around on an axis. Well, that's Coriolis deviation. The sun is exhibiting, according to them, a 15 degrees an hour drift as we turn underneath the sun. That's what they're claiming. Well, that's Coriolis deflection. That's us on a separate non-inertial spinning reference frame turning underneath stuff like balls and bullets and pendulums and gyroscopes. Yeah, they're claimed to have Earth turning underneath them to cause them to twist in their cages if they're gyros, or knock dominoes over if they're pendulums. Obviously, they're not going to whiz off, they're attached to the building. But the fact they claim Earth turns underneath is what's giving you their 15 degrees an hour drift. That's what it is, Earth turning underneath. Now, does Earth turn underneath when you jump up and down? Or launch a drone and get it to hover? Or throw a ball in the air? Does your flight time get reduced when you travel west? No, it doesn't. Helicopters don't take off and land in a different country because Earth turned underneath them at 15 degrees an hour, as is precisely their claim. Quick shout out to Guns of Neverone again. It says, finally joined, procrastination cured. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, Nathan, I think they argue for Earth turning, and then they have to argue against Earth turning because there's no evidence for it.
Exactly.
Yep.
They claim Earth turns underneath. It doesn't.
That was the bit. Cover that bit. It's not that they argue against, they try to mitigate against it, and it's then when you get into the ridiculousness of the mitigation that they do fall apart. It's like you see where the rumpus stumbles. So if you take that bullet shooting into the air straight up, okay, so we don't observe rotation. So what they're trying to pretend is that bullet's flight path mathematically is it goes up, it's losing its speed till it gets to the top. The highest bit it gets where it's doing zero, and then it falls down. Now, that makes sense to us. It does, because that's what happened. But in their world, it does exactly that, whilst also at the same time simultaneously moving 1,000 miles an hour all the time to keep in lockstep with the Earth that's rotating underneath. So you see all this loss of momentum, yet none in the lateral to ensure lockstep. That's what they have to profess.
No, they don't. Stop. No, they don't.
Okay.
No, they have to profess that Earth turns underneath the bullet to give them Coriolis deflection from the ground, an optical observed effect of the bullet seeming to drift away when it's just going up and down because you're turning underneath it. So while you're saying, well, they've got to claim it moves in lockstep. No, they don't. Lockstep movement of Earth and atmosphere in violation of the first law of thermodynamics would give you no discernible difference between a stationary plane with a bullet going up and down and a turning, rotating platform with the atmosphere in lockstep, moving the bullet along with the Earth. Then there's no drift. There's no 15 degrees an hour deviation. The two are supposed to deviate from each other, not move together. 15 degrees an hour drift, not 15 degrees an hour of lockstep movement, because then there's no 15 degrees of anything.
Yeah, it's like the trampoline, you know, the infamous tractor towing the trampoline and the guy's bouncing up and down on it. Well, he's doing that in a straight line, so that basically the tractor's not, you can argue that it's not accelerating because it's maintaining a constant speed and it's following a straight path. So it's like a geodesic path, it's straight. Stick that same trampoline guy on the roundabout and then put the tractor follow. Like, obviously, the guy's going to bounce off the trampoline and he's going to end up in the dirt because the trampoline has moved away from the path that it was previously on. And that will be following a curved path, which is what we're told we're on. So when the trampoline is being pulled by the tractor in a straight line, that's really a false equivalence, because there is no curve there. There's no acceleration. To demonstrate the claim that they need, they should be putting that tractor on a trampoline on a roundabout, but then demonstrating that the guy can quite happily bounce up and down on it and stay in that position. And we all know that the trampoline's going to move away from it.
Stop. Just got to do the same thing I just did with Adam. No, their claim is that this dude drifts. Coriolis would be us observing the guy looking like he bounces out and moves in a curved path. So if this was a demonstration of drift, it would be the guy drifting apart from the moving platform, not staying with it. This isn't a demonstration that is in any way conforming with a claim that we would observe things drifting away at 15 degrees an hour because we're turning underneath them. Now, this is an example of something not moving underneath. No deflection. No 15 degrees an hour. No drift. So, Simon Dan and Craig, who's got on this bandwagon, your claim is Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour to cause deflection from the ground as you observe things not attached. That's Coriolis effect. This nonsense that shows no drift is pissing in the face of your claim. We have 15 degrees an hour of it.
That's what I'm saying. Put this tractor going round a roundabout and then see if the guy will stay not drifting, and he's going to end up in the curb. He's going to end up falling off it, isn't he? Because the thing's rotated underneath him whilst he's not moved, and that would be a correct example for the model. But that's not what happens real world. Real world, he bounces up and down. He stays where he is. In other words, we're not moving.
Yeah.
Oh, guys,
This example,
what's going on is Simon Dan is trying to debunk the drift because he says it. Your reference frames have been ruined.
Yes.
Well, who has claims about reference frames?
Globus.
Not us.
Yeah. His example is to show a trampoline being pulled and say the guy doesn't curve his way out of it while you watch him on the trampoline. So from your vantage point on the trampoline platform that's moving with the tractor, it would look like the guy curves out the back of it as he's towed along. That would be him drifting apart from the reference frame you're still attached to. So you'd have to be on the tractor, sat on its roof, watching him bounce out of the trampoline's reference frame, looking like he's curving away from you. In reality, he's just gone up and down and the tractor's moved away underneath him. That would be analogous to the drift that we don't see on Earth. You don't jump up and down and the guy who still stood on the ground watch you seem to curve away from him because he's rotating underneath. That's what they need to show. But what they're showing is an example without drift. It's like, hello, you're supposed to have 15 degrees an hour of it. All these examples that show single reference frames are showing us that, the guy jumps up and down whilst towed, and it's absolutely no different to him jumping up and down when he's not towed. So you wouldn't be able to discern any difference whatsoever between an Earth that's moving with its atmosphere moving with it and a guy just jumping up and down. There's no difference then, so it proves precisely nothing. And you're supposed to claim 15 degrees an hour deviation. That'd be Earth turning under stuff not attached. Yeah? Not an example that's got absolutely no difference between a guy just bouncing without moving at all and a guy bouncing but not deviating at 15 degrees an hour as they keep getting behind. They're thick. Craig is the most recent to stick his stamp on this. Thick as you can get.
Well, I just had an epiphany about what you said a minute ago.
The trampoline video.
Hold on, Chris.
Sorry, Chris.
No, go ahead.
For me, the stupidest thing about the trampoline video is that it actually looks like somebody actually made it with CGI to prove the conservation of momentum. And it looks like that's what happened. It doesn't look like it's a proper video. And it looks like it was made by a baller to show the conservation of momentum, which completely debunks their claim of a drift. It looks like that to me. It looks like it's CGI. Not that it matters.
No,
it looks like they made it.
It's trying to prove conservation of momentum. They're debunking the drift argument.
Exactly.
Exactly. Go ahead, Chris.
It's not faked. Yeah. So let's be clear, right? Let's not say things that are sort of basic and understood. So it is real. And if you move at a constant rate, like someone said earlier, in a straight line, and you throw something up, it will come back down where it took off. That's fine. Where it doesn't make sense is two things: when there's acceleration and when there's angular momentum. So if there's angular momentum, say on a roundabout, the whole reason that people use roundabouts in these YouTube videos is because of the angular momentum, and that ball is not going to maintain the angular momentum. It will maintain the momentum where it left in a straight line, but you spin around the ball in a different momentum than the ball which was just in your hand. So the epiphany I had was when they say that Coriolis is maintaining conservation of momentum, it's the exact opposite. It's not maintaining the angular momentum that it had. If Correct. It did maintain angular momentum, you couldn't use the roundabout as an example because there would be no Coriolis effect.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's why.
Are you sure that though?
If the tractor was towing that trampoline around a roundabout and then conservation of momentum worked, you would be able to bounce that guy up and down whilst going round on a curved trajectory, and he would maintain going round the curve with the trampoline. And obviously we know that that's not going to happen. He's going to end up in the dirt. He's going to fall off it, isn't he? Because it's curving underneath him whilst he does it. So really, the only way they could prove their point would be to get it on a roundabout, show the guy conserving angular momentum, or conservation of momentum.
No, that's not their point. So you're saying to show their point that we don't have 15 degrees an hour drift, they'd need a guy bouncing on a roundabout and not drifting. Well, that wouldn't prove Earth spins. So no, they don't need to show that.
You interrupted me before I got to my crescendo.
My bad.
They would need to have the guy being towed around the roundabout, bouncing up and down, and not ending up in the dirt. Now, we all know that he would end up in the dirt.
You're just not listening to me. No, if they show a guy on a roundabout jumping up and down on a trampoline that's in one of the sections, so one section on the roundabout's got a trampoline, the other 8 sections haven't, for the sake of argument. He bounces up and down and moves along with the rotating platform, rotating with him underneath. Well, then he's not drifting. That's not what they need to demonstrate. They need to show the guy bounce up and down on the roundabout, and then from another person on the roundabout's perspective, he'll end up in the dirt. And from the person who's still on the roundabout's perspective, he looked like he curved away from them, even though he just went up and down. Because that's what they claim Earth does. It just doesn't do that.
Okay, I stand corrected. You are correct. Yours was better than mine.
I still don't buy that. I still don't buy that straight.
Yeah.
If I'm going straight in a flatbed truck and I'm doing, let's say, 30 miles an hour, and I'm laying on my back and I throw a baseball straight up in the air, it's not coming back down through me.
Yeah, and that's what they claim Earth does. That's precisely what Coriolis is. You seeing the ball from the flatbed look like it curves away from you into the distance. In reality, you've just thrown it up, it's gone up, and then dropped down. But from your vantage point, it's curved away from you into the distance as you drove away from it. They claim that's what happens on Earth. A ball gets kicked on a football field and makes the field goal because Earth turned underneath it to cause an apparent deflection. That's what they claim. So you need to see the things actually drifting away from you, not justify why they move together. And that's precisely what they're doing. The idiots don't understand Coriolis.
Chris, how could you prove outside of that video of the trampoline, the fella jumping up and down on the trampoline with the tractor pulling it? How could you prove outside of that? What other proof have you got that if you're on a moving vehicle and you throw something up in the air or jump up in the air, that's not going to go out from underneath you? Or you're not going to go out from underneath the ball you throw up in the air? I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, but even if they did, let's say they achieved it. I've done this with Brian, Sleeping Warrior, and Adam, all on the same show. So let's say they achieved that, Brian. They managed to show on a moving train. They're doing it. It's on screen with this trampoline. Look, he's not drifting. Reference frame's ruined. He's not moving away from the moving reference frame underneath at 15 degrees an hour. What a win for flat Earth.
I
Because
know
they
that,
can't
Nathan.
demonstrate a lack of
I'm
drift.
just speaking about the claim that it is a real thing. I haven't seen enough evidence that it is real, that would happen linearly.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be drift.
Well, I'm not talking about their claim. I'm just talking about what Chris said concerning that. I'm in the same camp as Neil. I don't believe that if you're moving, sitting on the top of a car that's moving, that I throw a ball up in the air, it's going to come straight back down to where it was.
It wouldn't. And I'm saying that that's the effect they need Earth to have. They need you to throw a ball up in the air on Earth and have it whiz away from you 1,000 miles an hour on the equator like it would on your flatbed. You throw the ball in the air, and because you move away from it, it looks like it flies away from you in a curved path. Well, that's what a ball should do on Earth. You launch a ball into the air, and what do you know? Whatever rate you're supposed to be turning underneath it, it whizzes away from you at that speed. That's what's supposed to happen on a turning Earth. 15 degrees an hour of drift. That's things drifting away from you. And it never happens. So we get into the argument about, well, if they could just show a guy on a roundabout not drifting, they'd prove their point that we don't have 15 degrees an hour, as they claim proves Earth spins. Do you see where I'm going? Every time they try and prove people don't drift on trampolines, well, you're claiming Earth does have 15 degrees of it. So what are you proving? That there isn't a proof of Earth spin? Shout out to Godzilla. He's been sat with his super chat for ages. Sure, the Earth spins, as sure as Biden won the election legitimately. Okay, no.
Current affairs.
So
come on, man.
Nathan,
I can't
if
find.
I can just finish.
Adam first.
What
Go on, Adam.
I'm feeling. Again, I think my point maybe missed a little bit. The point I was making is they'll do that, then they'll go into the bullshittery of what has to be happening, so that you don't actually see Coriolis, and that to me is the point where you just undermine then that there is none. As soon as they go into that, the point of going into the complex what Rumpus's phrase was, or whatever he's, as soon as they go into that, they're building a world where there is no observable Coriolis, and therefore it disproves the point straight away for me. As soon as they go into that, they're trying to say that in reality we have no Coriolis, because look, this occurs, so there is none.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look at this man not drifting. So here's my example that shows we don't have drift. Reference frames ruined. It's like, okay, great. So you're showing us that we don't have two reference frames and Earth turning underneath then. Oh, that's so sloppy. No, that's what's supposed to happen and doesn't on a turning Earth that isn't turning. Earth is stationary.
Also, Adam,
I just heard that just yesterday. I listened to that when Rumpus said it was sloppy, and I'm thinking, so it's sloppy to describe the Earth spinning underneath the pendulum when that's the claim? So your claim is sloppy?
Yeah, sloppy until he goes on to Ranty Flat Earth's channel and then claims that Earth is turning underneath the sun.
1,000 miles that way, and as soon as you're doing that, you're arguing in their bullshit excuse for why you don't see Earth turn where you know the Earth's turning.
Exactly.
And you've just got to bring them back to the fact that, no, then you're demonstrating there are no reference frames. End of. You can't.
Well, that's what Dan did. So thanks, Dan, for demonstrating lack of reference frames.
Yeah,
exactly. Was saying moving relative to the Earth, though. So what does that mean? What is he
relative to the Earth?
There?
Drift. It means Earth's turning underneath, relative to the spinning reference that's turning underneath. They just use this vernacular to confuse people, Neil.
Okay. You just don't want to say spinning underneath.
Yeah, relative motion. Well, relative to what? Well, to the Earth turning underneath in their claim, but they won't ever voice that because it's overtly obvious that doesn't happen. Earth isn't turning underneath anything. Now, the fact that they can assert it with a football, a sniper's bullet, a gyroscope, a pendulum, absolutely cements their claim that Earth turns underneath stuff not attached at 15 degrees an hour. Until we point it out and say that would shorten flight time, or your drone would whiz away 1,000 miles an hour, and then they tell us it's a sloppy description, because it doesn't happen.
Well, some people do sacrilege and say that Neil deGrasse Tyson got it wrong. Some people do actually say that.
Yeah, he did get it wrong. We say that, Neil.
Can we try it now? Can we see if any glober will tell us if the Earth is supposed to be spinning underneath pendulums and hot air balloons and bullets and all that stuff?
I think, well, if you look at last night, right? Last night's show Nathan put on, I don't think the rumpus didn't know how a pendulum works. I think he realised, shit, I know where Nathan's going to take me, so I can't answer it this way. I can't answer it. He knew he was done all ends up, so it was better to pretend you don't know how a pendulum works than to be led down that path and get your ass spanked or a firm teabagging, as I think he received. I think is where we've got them too.
Exactly. At the expense of his own humility, he'd rather say, well, I don't really know. Maybe it's an elliptical orbit. Well, if a pendulum has an elliptical orbit, like with their example dragging a man not drifting, then, pendulums just have a circular motion then. So nothing to see here. They just naturally go around in a circle. It's not proving anything then. That's just what pendulums do. No, it's claimed Earth's turning underneath
that,
them.
Would he? He wouldn't do that. As soon as that came out his mouth, Nathan, he realised that the consequence of that being that, well, then the Earth's not spinning, then it's just a wobbly pendulum. Yeah. He didn't know which way to go because they can't, because their whole premise contradicts itself.
Yeah,
and he knows it.
And then he started stuttering.
Yeah, and he knows it. That's the thing that was the most telling for me. That he knew he had to figure out a way around the problem. So he's aware of the problem.
But let's not forget the biggest tell here. The minute they argue conservation and momentum, they're basically saying, okay, we admit the sun is moving at 15 degrees.
Yeah, it's not us turning underneath. There's no deflection. There's no drift. There's no Coriolis effect. Earth isn't turning underneath. For you to say it would be sloppy.
And they're also trying to take you off the actual subject of the Coriolis, because the conservation of momentum has nothing to do with the Coriolis.
Yep.
Coriolis is the observation from the non-inertial reference frame. Conservation of momentum, that would be the projectile, ball, balloon, whatever the hell. They're just trying to distract you from the actual topic.
Yep.
So you need reference frames.
Well, you need to observe it from the ground. You need to observe it from the turning reference frame. If you're describing it with a roundabout, it's your observation of the tree. Oh, no, it's coming towards me. That's the description of Coriolis. So the path of the tree and the tree's conservation of its angular or linear momentum, that's kind of relevant to the fact that you're turning towards it to make it look like the tree's coming towards you. Or if it was a ball being thrown, it would be the effect of you moving towards the ball to make its curved path appear from your vantage point. Well, that's nothing to do with the actual path, because it's a not actual deflection caused by you turning underneath. And as Chocolate says, once you point out that we're not turning underneath anything, nothing's drifting at 15 degrees an hour, they want to take it into the frame of reference of the ball or the bullet or the helicopter and tell you all about how that is conserving momentum when the observation of Coriolis is you observing it seem to drift as you turn underneath it. But because we don't see it, they need to talk about the bullet and its actual path, when Coriolis is not actual deflection that you see from the ground as you turn underneath something. So you can't justify them turning together and still have Coriolis effect, because you're not turning underneath it anymore, as you require on a globe Earth that's spinning, because that's your claim proof it spins.
That's why I like the lampposts, because they can't claim conservation of momentum, because the lamppost ain't moving.
I'd like to just give some clarity on what the actual conservation of momentum is. The conservation for both angular and linear. If you are on a children's roundabout and you're holding onto the bars of that roundabout when it's been spun around, when you leave go of that, right, when you're out at the edge of it and you leave go, you will be thrown away at an angle from that spinning reference frame. Right? You're conserving the momentum of the movement of the roundabout. You'll be thrown away at an angle away from that. We all know this when we did this when we were younger in playgrounds, when we held on to the bars on the roundabout thing, and someone else spun it, and then you let go and you got thrown away at an angle away from it.
Yeah.
Linear momentum is like when you see in a movie where someone's on top of a car and the car is driving fast, and then it puts on the brakes and the person on the top of the car flies off the car and goes forward. That's linear momentum. That's the conservation of momentum, not what the ballers have been saying it is. That's the real conservation of momentum, both for angular and linear. You're conserving the momentum of what you were on, or of the direction you were moving.
But it's only for a fraction of a second.
Let me respond.
It's for a very short period of time. It's also not drift. But yeah, if you want to say that as you are thrown for the fraction of a second that you leave, you're going to retain some of the angular momentum of the roundabout. Yeah, I'll agree with you. But does that mean that the guy who's watching you after you've left will still see you flying around off the roundabout next to you? No.
But don't forget that moving frame would have to stop for you to be able to conserve the energy.
No, not necessarily.
Or you would have to leave.
Yeah, you'd have to leave.
Let me clarify some claims, because again, I just want to make sure everyone's accurate. So there's still a question as to if if you did this on the platform and it's moving straight line, you throw the ball, it becomes down. It does, and and the reason I knew that is because I had seen examples. I posted one live chat. I know some of you all are on the Hangout, but if you YouTube kinematics demo cart and ball, that will show you that there's a straight platform. There's a device on it, and it as he pushes the device in a straight line on the platform at a few miles per hour, it shoots a ball up about 3 feet, and the ball comes back down and lands in the same little
3 feet.
bucket.
That's it, of course.
Yeah.
Well,
I've seen higher ones. I've seen them like 8-9 feet. It still works.
Sure,
it still works, but to Nathan's point, it debunks their claim anyway.
Exactly. It's lack of drift. Lack of 15 degrees an hour deviation as we turn underneath. It's just going up and coming down again in the same spot. And if they say, oh, well, Earth travelled with the atmosphere, well, then that's still not drifting. So it's not got a deflection at 15 degrees an hour. Well, that's the thing that's needed to prove we're spinning. If it drifts at the same speed, it's not drifting.
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying on that straight ahead sidewalk moving, if I'm flipping the ball up 3 or 4 feet, it's going to come right back down. Once I launch that freaking thing 20, 30 feet in the air, it is not coming back down into my hand.
Not if Earth's turning underneath it, it's not.
Right. If you maintain, if the momentum is the same, there's no acceleration or deceleration, it absolutely will. And I just want to make sure you're understanding of that. For example, if you're in a car, you have a ball and you're in the passenger seat, and the person's going exactly 50 miles per hour. If you throw the ball up in a perfectly straight line, which would probably be impossible, but if you could, it would come right back down into your hand, right?
Yeah,
no matter how high you do it.
Same system,
If you're inside.
Inside the car. Yeah, with the air moving along with you. Yes.
Of course, nobody's arguing that.
Well, no, they are, Neil. No, Dan and Craig Fight the Flat Earth are currently arguing that. They're saying, look, this guy is analogous to you throwing a ball up and down in a car that's closed moving at 50 miles an hour. There's no deflection. There is no 15 degrees an hour drift. The ball doesn't fly to the back of the car. Yeah, but you need Earth to do that. You need Earth to demonstrate that it turns underneath stuff not attached at 15 degrees an hour. That's drift. So none of this, I'll show you how it doesn't drift. Well, that doesn't prove it does.
Nathan, it's a false analogy anyway. If their claim is that that's analogous to chucking a ball up and down in the back of a car traveling at 50 mile an hour, that car's got to be on a curve at 50 mile an hour for it to be an equivalence. But if they've got it in a straight line, that's not an equivalence. That's a false equivalence.
But it's a false equivalence for something they're not claiming. Because they're claiming, regardless of if they say the ball comes back to your hand, ball hits the side window because you're going round in a circle, or ball hits the back window. Well, they need it to deflect. So in your example, it would need them to be doing the same example, but with a flatbed truck, going round and round a roundabout, throwing a ball up in the air whilst on the roundabout, and seeing it curve away from the flatbed truck. Because that would be the ball deviating from the motion that you observe on the back of the flatbed truck, i.e. Coriolis deflection, not actual drift from your vantage point as you turn underneath the ball you've just thrown. Them showing the ball coming back to your hand on the flatbed truck, is it not drifting away from you, as they claim Earth has? That's Coriolis deflection. Stuff drifting away at 15 degrees an hour. Something that never happens.
Not to mention they are, with their explanations, actually trying to say Earth is a closed system.
Yeah, you'd need Earth to be like the car, moving along with the atmosphere travelling along with it. Well, that would violate the first law of thermodynamics on a spinning sphere, because the increase of speed of the air would have to be in effect as you went up in altitude. Its circumference, its journey would increase. Therefore, the velocity would have to increase as you go up in altitude. It's absolutely absurd. Same would apply for anything that's lifting off the ground. So it takes off, and to keep the momentum of the ground beneath it, which is a smaller circumference, it would have to increase its velocity to match the ground beneath. It would also not give you drift at 15 degrees an hour. That's them drifting apart from one another.
Got a little bit
The
of
evidence
Professor
of gas
Lewis
pressure
demonstrating.
to a vacuum with that.
Go on then. Let's have a look. Oh, where's my mouse pointer? There we go. No sound, but can you tell us what he's telling
Yeah,
us?
I thought I'd keep that off.
What's he telling us?
He's going to fire this projectile up in the air. He's just demonstrated it with nothing. Now he's going to set it rolling, then fire the projectile out, and you'll.
Oh, so he's firing it out and catching it.
Yeah. Now he's put a little cup on it, obviously to give a bit of leeway. But if you watch.
So he's demonstrating the conservation of momentum, right?
Yeah. Conservation
Right,
of momentum demonstration.
Can you show my screen?
Yeah, sure. But just while you're doing that, what that is a demonstration that the two move together, synchronized, not drifting apart, but moving together. Like the trampoline guy isn't drifting, not demonstrating that they move apart 15 degrees an hour, showing they move together. Completely annihilating the idea that we have a Coriolis effect. Right, you're up, Anthony.
Do you see the apple thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you now see the Coriolis effect window?
Yeah.
But this is like it's worth. We don't need the sound, obviously, but it's worth showing this because this illustrates the 2 points. When the roundabout's not turning, you can see that all four observers on the roundabout are able to freely throw the ball to and from each other without seeing any apparent drift. And that's what you'd expect because it's not turning. They're just able to throw it to each other, no problem. However, when the thing starts turning, they see on the roundabout, they see apparent drift, but the real observer on the outside, the non-inertial frame of reference, sees that the ball is still traveling straight. So the apparent deflection is from the observer on the rotating platform, which is not what we see in real world. We don't see any observations real world where there is apparent drift, because if we did, we would see planes apparently drifting with times when they're flying east and west, and we don't see that. Now, when they try and argue against it, they've got to try and argue against the apparent drift that we're not seeing. Well, that basically argues our case for us, but they think it's arguing their case for them, and it's not. So they're arguing against their own model, but don't realise it.
Yep. Well, that's come to a fruition now, thanks to Simon, Dan, and Craig's helping.
Yeah, I've seen that one. That's my favorite one.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's the only one that gives you it shows you the apparent deflection and the lack of apparent deflection from the non-inertial frame of reference. And that's what you've got to visualize with regards to planes or bullets or helicopters from the rotating frame of reference.
You mean the inertial?
Huh?
You mean the inertial frame?
From the rotating frame of reference or the inertial frame of reference, we must see
non-inertial. Only
non-inertial.
The deflection is inertial.
Let me just clarify it.
Apologies. So from the non-inertial frame of reference, we've got to see things deflecting or appear to deflect, and we're not seeing it.
I just need to clarify it so it's clear. Non-inertial is the reference frame you're on. The reason it's described as non-inertial is because you're not moving. You're attached to the thing that is. So as far as you're concerned, you aren't moving, non-inertial. Because the effect you're going to be describing, the not actual drift, is going to be taking place in the inertial reference frame. So it's an item travelling in a straight line in a different frame of reference that's inertial from your vantage point. So you're going to see it seem to drift. Well, that's from your non-inertial reference frame. So you're going to witness something happening. That would be the drift, the thing coming towards you, the, oh no, the tree's coming to get me. Well, that is taking place in the inertial reference frame. The tree is moving towards you in the inertial reference frame. In reality, it's not moving at all. It's a tree. But you see it seem to come towards you. And that's because your frame of reference describing this not actual drift is non-inertial, describing some inertia. Not actual inertia, apparent inertia of a tree coming towards you as you spin towards it on your non-inertial spinning reference frame.
So basically, the point is the conservation of momentum point doesn't work if we're on a curved trajectory because we're supposed to be on a curve. It doesn't work. So their argument is flawed anyway.
Their argument for something that shouldn't happen in their rhetoric is also flawed. That's correct. Also, I'm going to do another quick couple of shout-outs because Flatsoid FE has actually covered this with his own demonstration, as good as the National Geographic one that might get me a copyright strike was. He has also done it. So go and check out Flatsoid's channel and find his demonstration where he has it a camera phone attached to a fan, and you can see what happens from the non-inertial spinning reference frame versus the inertial reference frame. So go and check him out. Subscribe today. He's in a bit of a tete-a-tete at the moment with Craig Fight Flat Earth, so you can check that out on Flatsoid FE's channel, if I can get my tongue around it. Subscribe today. Please let him know that I sent you. Leave him a little comment if you do go and subscribe that just says Nathan Oakley 1980 sent you. Also, the reason I can so concisely describe non-inertial and inertial reference frames is because of Paula, who explained it to me. So I can now detail it back to you. So that's purely down to her explanation, because I didn't get it. It's like, why is it non-inertial if I'm spinning? Doesn't make any sense. And then she broke it down for me. Now I can break it down for you because I'm a subscriber of Bible Literalist. So go and subscribe today to Bible Literalist. She's an absolutely fantastic YouTuber. She is extremely well researched, and you can subscribe to her channel in the link that is going to be in the live stream chat right now. So go and subscribe to Paula, Bible Literalist, and a completely other end of the extreme, a very proactive YouTuber, Josh, who's over at Authentic Intent channel. So subscribe today to Authentic Intent, who, as I say, is a very, very proactive YouTuber, goes out and about, encourages conversation with his very, very friendly and approachable demeanour. So he's a really nice YouTuber to watch and relax to. Does stir controversy, is deceptive, might be amiable, might be approachable, but he does definitely catch people out and give them a bit of a shock when he talks to them. So that's the third link that's scrolling by in the YouTube live stream chat feed. So go and subscribe to Authentic Intent, Bible Literalist, and Flatsoid FE, who are all exceptionally good YouTubers, and you need to just let them know that I sent you to subscribe.
So you're
I'd just like to say, go on, Neil, I'll go after.
I was just going to say, so you're saying the roundabout is spinning, but you're on it, you're not moving.
Correct.
Personally.
Yeah, the effect you're going to describe is a not actual effect. But to have a not actual effect, you've got to be on a platform that's moving, but you're not moving in relation to. So therefore, you're non-inertial, describing a not actual effect. It's very confusing.
I have a problem with the video that Adam showed with the linear momentum.
Okay.
That ball was sent up in half a loop. It makes half a loop. It doesn't go straight up in the air and conserve the momentum, come straight back down. It's sent up in time to land back in the thing. It doesn't look like it's like the whole thing is correct. It looks like it's a little bit of a put on.
No, I disagree. If what you're saying was correct, it would it could only go up directly straight, like 90 degrees. And it's not. It's definitely not doing that, is it?
No, it seems to be sent forward. It seems to be sent up forward, so it does land in the thing.
But that's the point. It's conserving the momentum of the pushing forward.
Well, yeah, but it's proving the thing they're trying to prove. But the thing is, the ball is not sent straight up. It's been sent as the thing, before the thing even gets moving, it's been sent in a loop. It's been sent up forward, so it does come back down. At least somewhere near where, at least somewhere near where the thing is going to be.
Yeah,
it doesn't look correct to me. It looks like it's a pull.
No, he fires it on moving first. I'll show you.
Yeah, before you do, I completely agree with you, Brian. But if this succeeds as a demonstration of the conservation of momentum, regardless if you want to argue that it's not angular, it's not drifting. Their example is that Earth is demonstrated to be spinning because we have 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth turns underneath stuff not attached. So this example, wonderful, yeah, great demonstration of the retention of angular velocity. Okay, but Earth's supposed to have deviation at 15 degrees an hour as we turn underneath. So it's proving what now? Nothing for the globe. with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, smashed the super chat, shared, commented, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Quick shout out to James Richard, who says, off topic, but true. Satan's globe creation is over. This will and is separating the tares from the wheat, the goat from the sheep. Thank you very much indeed for smashing the